My name is Amanda Blackwood, and this is my 10 points in 10 minutes. Human trafficking is defined by the Department of Homeland Security as the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act from someone. If you notice, there's no mention of money or transportation in that definition. That means that human smuggling, the transportation of somebody across borders, or prostitution, which is the exchange of money for sex, those might overlap in the world of human trafficking, but they are all three completely separate issues that all need to be addressed. One does not equal the other. Human trafficking is a global problem. It affects millions of people worldwide. Most people assume it only happens to people under the age of 18 and that it doesn't happen here in our country. But the sad reality is that underage victims only make up about 1/4 of all victims worldwide. The media only wants to talk about these victims or of prostitution stings because they're more sensationalized. They can get more sympathy, they can get more people watching their shows that way. There are many anti trafficking groups that do the same thing, and this is considered a further exploitation in the world of trafficking. So, point number three, another way that organizers exploit victims is to take the story of the victim's experience of survival and pass it on to garner more sympathy for the cause so that they can raise more money for their own organizations without any regard to the victim or the survivor and their needs. So the money is lining the pockets of the people who say they're doing the good work, right? But what becomes of the person whose story that they stole in the first place? Point number four, the average number of times that a person might be victimized and trafficked is actually 7 times. I was only trafficked 3 times. Only is a good word to use here. When we build these neural pathways in our brains that tell us that the people who love us are the ones that are going to hurt us, we seek out patterns. It is a natural human response to seek out patterns. So when I was being trafficked, I was constantly attracted to people who would hurt me, who would exploit me, because that was what I was accustomed to. It's what I was comfortable around. I'm often asked how I could allow myself to be trafficked 3 different times. And some people have even asked me why I didn't learn anything the first time around. And I want to ask people to try to reframe that question. Would you ask that to someone who's had a history of ending up in domestic violence situations? Most people would not. When you have this pattern in your life, it's something that's going to be repeated. Each different incident of trafficking, if you listen to the full episode, every single one of them is different. They all have their own different characters and mannerisms about them. Point number five, the average lifespan of somebody in trafficking is only 7 years. Can you imagine that? During that time, they may suffer from alcohol or drug addictions, and that can lead to sometimes accidental overdose. They also might be given a fatal dose on purpose. They might be beaten to death, they might be starved to death, or in many cases, they might commit suicide. I tried to take that route out of the world myself. The death rate among survivors is astronomically high. According to number 6, the recent FBI statistics, is estimated that only 2% of all human trafficking victims actually survive with their life. I know that now, but I didn't know that then. Whenever someone tells me that they're sorry for what I'd had to go through, I always try to remind them of this and let them know that I will never be sorry for what happened to me. Because if it hadn't been me, it would have been somebody else, and that somebody else probably wouldn't have survived. I'd rather it be me every time I think about that, knowing that I now have this voice and my writing and my ability to speak up for so many of us who were permanently silenced. Point number 7, there are many ways to help fight human trafficking. You can raise awareness, you can support organizations that work with survivors, you can report suspected cases, but you have to make sure that you vet these organizations too. You can't just make a blanket statement of, hey, this is an anti-trafficking organization, I'm going to go help them. There are a couple of really great ones to get involved with, including one that helped me, known as Alight. They pair survivors of trafficking with pro bono legal services. There's Compass 31 down in Colorado Springs. There's Beautiful Wheat Wellness out here in Denver, Colorado. They do the hard work in helping those who need it to be able to heal from the past and from these major traumas. Mental health is my 8th point. Mental health is every bit as important as physical health, and the two are infinitely connected. They're like this. If you're not okay mentally, it can cause issues physically that might manifest for the rest of your life. I am currently dealing with Crohn's disease, thyroid disease, chronic hives, and I'm being tested for lupus right now. A study in 2015 linked autoimmune diseases to severe emotional and childhood trauma. That's no joke. Self-care is not selfish, it's vital. We have to take care of ourselves. Nobody's going to do it for us. They've proved that in the past, right? You need to take time out for yourself. Point number 9, recovery from trauma is possible. Don't give up on yourself and say, I'm never going to get better, because in that mind frame, you can't. With the right support, anyone can fight back against their trauma and their trauma reactions and recover their life in a healthy and powerful way. Had I not done the hard work that I needed to do, I wouldn't have the amazing life with my husband that I have now. Some of the most helpful things that I did for myself was to write about it, to learn how to express myself through painting. This is one of mine right here behind me. My writing got me written up in the Chicago Tribune, but that doesn't mean that that needs to be where your writing is going to go. You can burn it to where nobody will ever read it or know about it except for you, but getting it out of your system and down onto paper or onto canvas is monumental for being able to help. You have to learn how to express yourself through healthy means, and these are two very healthy ways. I did also seek treatment with a therapist. It didn't work out so great with the first therapist. You will hear all about that if you listen to the full episode with Stefan. But I did get to go see a second therapist, and she was amazing. And I want to drive home the point that it's okay to switch therapists when you need to. More than 90% of people actually lie to their therapist. Why are you going to lie to somebody that you are paying to help you? Find someone you can be open and honest with. It's really important. They're not going to take it personally if you end up not going back to them for therapy in the future. And my point number 10, you are stronger than you think. Stop giving credit to your abusers and the terrible things that they may have done to you in your past. Do you know that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? That originally came from a guy by the name of Friedrich Nietzsche. He died in the 1800s in an insane asylum. I think we can stop listening to him now. It's okay. You have always had the strength within you to be able to get through everything that you've gone through. You just needed to dig deep enough and find it for yourself. Now it's time for you to get the help that you need to. Please look into the National Human Trafficking Hotline or the 988 campaign for more information on how you can get the resources that you might need, because not knowing the options are out there is the same as not having options.